want some chicken to eat. It is my favorite meat. I like it crispy or glazed. It puts me in a daze. I like it fried up or baked. On my birthday, I eat chicken cake.
Chicken Nuggets, the Raptor Apocalypse by Steve R. Yeager is not a good book. I do not recommend it. What is it? Well, for now, let's concentrate on what it's not, and that's a comedy. I would have expected a book called Chicken Nuggets, the Raptor Apocalypse to be funny, but it's not. It's actually trying to be a serious thriller with badass macho heroes and intense gore. Then don't name your book Chicken Nuggets. That's the silliest name ever. So what is it? Well, it's basically a bad Jurassic Park fanfic that was published under a misleading name. Take a generic zombie apocalypse story and substitute Jurassic Park raptors for zombies, and you have this story. There's no reason for them to be raptors past the author liking Jurassic Park and wanting a Raptor Apocalypse story. To be fair, there is nothing wrong with derivative media. Sometimes the X meets Y stories can be really fun. The creation of the zombie apocalypse story was with George Romero's Night of the Living Dead, and he admits that he basically just ripped off The Last Man on Earth. He took the basic premise of The Last Man on Earth, increased the cast, and replaced the vampire-esque mutants with ghouls, based loosely on the Haitian zombies. And he started a whole zombie apocalypse genre. The trick is to do something interesting and fun with your derivative fiction, and that is what Chicken Nuggets fails at. The premise of the book is that an evil group of environmentalists try to reduce the human population to make the world sustainable. To do this, they create monstrous chickens through genetic manipulation. They look and behave just like Jurassic Park raptors, except they're white and with chicken combs. So, nothing like Jurassic Park raptors. As weird as it is, this idea is actually a bit more plausible than Jurassic Park's mosquito thing. Scientists have been trying to reactivate dormant dinosaur genes in chickens. There was a documentary about it. It is a good starting point for a Jurassic Park derivative science fiction story. The problem is, chickens aren't scary. Associating chickens with apocalypse-causing monsters is just a funny idea. If you're gonna keep the chicken association in people's minds instead of completely switching to the dinosaur realm, you have to be able to own that inherent absurdity and be comedic. Giving the book the title Chicken Nuggets suggests that the author was aware of the comedy, but he didn't bring it out in the story itself, and the absurdity depicted seriously only serves to make it an unintentional comedy. It's like how Empire of the Ants has you laughing at it, and Eight-Legged Freaks has you laughing with it. Despite the wacky title and premise, it's actually really boring. It's pretty much just a generic zombie apocalypse story with chicken raptors. The main protagonist, Jesse, is an ex-military deputy sheriff that's pretty much every macho power fantasy that's ever roamed in Apocalypse. He's looking for his wife and daughter, and he's fighting other macho men and raptors along the way. He's so badass, he actually eats raptors like they're chicken. This is a recurring element. They'll defeat a chicken raptor, and then they'll eat it. Kinda interesting to think of a zombie apocalypse, except you can eat the zombies. Yeah. The subordinate protagonist, Corey, is a former bad guy, and basically every nerd macho power fantasy ever. He's a racially ambiguous person of color who ascended into power through a traditional Japanese duel with his professor, in which he won a Japanese sword that's secretly powerful because it was made by a legendary swordsmith. Like something out of a comic book. In fact, when Jesse runs into him, he actually compares him to a comic book character. I highly suspect he's based off of Hero from the first season of Heroes, where he acquires a legendary Japanese sword and then duels his father to learn how to use it proficiently. And his future self has the same standoffishness and wardrobe as Corey. There are paragraphs going over how macho and impressive these guys are, but we never really get to know them and like them. They're just simplistic macho power fantasies. Jesse starts out with a loving family, and then he gets separated from his family, and then he finds his wife and daughter's bodies, but represses the sight of his daughter's body, and believes that she's out there and he has to track her down. He grows increasingly detached from reality, imagining his daughter's spirit or something is guiding him like a fairy in Legend of Zelda. The female characters here are only respected in a distant way. The plot focuses on the masculine protector and fighter. It's pretty regressive. Part of his decline is illustrated by him trying to help a woman he found, a woman not given any lines, and so vaguely described that she's not so much a character as a prop. She's a nameless victim who was raped and abused, and Jesse tries to raise her back to health like an injured bird, only for her to die on him. It's a one-shot, non-character, woman in refrigerator death inserted just to show Jesse losing hope. It's pretty bad. While trying to help Kate, a traumatized little girl who he at first mistakes for his daughter, Jesse gets stuck in a mall overrun by raptors, leading to this dramatic line. Damn you for creating them. Chicken nuggets, just for chicken nuggets. Damn you, I hope you are all dead. Every last one of you. It's probably trying to evoke Charlton Heston's dramatic speech at the end of Planet of the Apes, but part of what makes that effective is that he doesn't insert references to Happy Meals. That just makes it weird. You maniacs! You blew it up! You're just as bad as the Hamburglar trying to steal everyone's burgers! God damn you all to hell! Meanwhile, Corey's travels bring him to a settlement called Eden that's actually a cult, run by a demagogue named Noah. It turns out like Hotel California, and they won't actually let him leave. He tries to run away by taking the guards by surprise and performing a dramatic stunt where he delivers a mercy blow to a criminal tied up to be fed to raptors. But Noah gets a bunch of archers to force him back into the fort. Even his super powerful sword is no match for ranged weapons of significant distance, which does make it a little more grounded in reality than a lot of these fantasies with swords. So, points for that. In order to keep Corey occupied, Noah sends the lovely Eve to have sex with him. It's important to note that this is not portrayed as Eve being seductive. Whatever else is problematic about the story, it does not delve into sexist seductress tropes. At first, Corey is into it, but then he realizes that Noah is an abusive jackass who probably forced her to do this, so he refuses. It's a bit like the Stargate film, where the Abadonians give Shaori to Daniel Jackson as a gift because they think he's a god, and he refuses to have sex with her as a matter of fact, while at the same time putting on the appearance of going along with it in order to spare her dishonor. Stargate is a little more centered on nerds being better than jocks, as opposed to nerds hardening themselves into jocks, as in the case of Corey. And Corey's rejection of Eve's advances is a little more tinged with masculine lust than Daniel Jackson's rejection of Shaori, but they are both examples of macho fantasies about being offered pretty women that go along with reasonably healthy ideas about consent. If Eve isn't offering of her own free will, Corey knows not to pursue her. That's good. At the same time, though, there is a bit later on about Corey lamenting about not seizing the opportunity after he manages to successfully escape, so it's not perfect. Corey sneaks out while she's sleeping, and Eve has to report to Noah that he's escaped. Noah expected this, and sends Eve outside the fort to track him down. He allows Eve to take her best friend too, Adam, if she can persuade him, which she does by lying and saying that Corey is important to Noah specifically because he knows information. What information Noah wants is unclear. It would appear that Noah wants Corey because of his physical fighting ability. But Noah does want Corey. Noah is specifically sending Eve out to retrieve Corey. This is an embellishment, but the fact that Noah does want Corey is true, so it's not a huge lie. Adam and Eve leave Eden. Ha ha ha. And they get into trouble when they enter a raptor-infested mall. You know, the one where Jesse is. And Eve dramatically admits that she lied, as if this were a failing on her part. Yeah, she lied to get Adam to come with her. A little. Adam dies, and the book treats this as her fault because she lied. But she didn't really lie that much. It's stupid engineered drama. You have to help me destroy the Death Star. What's that? It's a giant green space station that can destroy planets. It's already blown up my home planet and it's en route to destroy the rebel base. Wow, of course I'll help you. Oh no, stormtroopers. I'm sorry, I lied to get you to help me. It's actually white. You lying scumbag. I have you now. No! Oh, this is all my fault. I never should have lied. Corey overhears her screaming and comes to rescue her. They start traveling together. Eve abruptly starts yelling at him, blaming him for Adam's death because she and Adam wouldn't have left if not for Corey leaving. So now she's an irrational, hysterical woman. She then admits that Noah banished her for letting Corey escape. Huh? What? Noah clearly sent Eve out to retrieve Corey. There's even a moment where Noah stops her just before she leaves and tells her to return shortly. This is a major continuity error. I imagine that there were 2 versions of a plot thread in different drafts. Maybe the first one had it that Eve was sent out on a retrieval task and upon meeting Corey tried to take him back to Eden, and the author decided that he wanted Eve committed to traveling with Corey, so he made another draft where Eve is banished from Eden and takes Adam with her as with the legend. However, this draft was horribly edited. The original plot thread still exists at the beginning. It's like if you're reading Lord of the Rings, and then Frodo makes a comment to Gollum about taking the ring to Mount Doom to propose to Sauron, and the Nazgul are only pursuing them because they're bigots who oppose marriage between hobbits and Valar. That might be an interesting story, but it's not the story you've been reading, and it just leaves you confused. Okay, so let's pretend that Noah really did banish Eve. Eve then apparently lied to Adam to get him to come with her. So then we have a more faithful recreation of the legend where Eve sins, drags Adam into her sins, and both are cast out. That makes it a recreation of one of the most misogynistic stories in Western civilization, establishing fundamental social order with women as the wicked, stupid deceivers, who have to be punished for their evil and strictly controlled to keep them from dragging men down with them. Ultimately, there's no point to this cult. They might show up in the sequel. Yes, there is a sequel called Red Asphalt, which I will not read. But in the context of the Chicken Nuggets story, it's just a place that Corey visits, encounters obstacles, and from which he gets a love interest. A lot of stuff is introduced, like Noah abusing people, apparently having sex slaves if I'm interpreting hints correctly, and some bits about Eve having a rough life there, but it's never followed up on. There's no satisfying conclusion. It feels like it's just a way to turn Eve into a victim for Corey to rescue. And to have a bunch of gratuitous biblical references, because you gotta have some of those. If I might compare to the best action film of all time, and Breath of Feminist Fresh Air, Mad Max Fury Road, it's a lot like the situation at the Citadel where Morton Joe runs this cult in the middle of an apocalyptic wasteland and has sex slaves. But while the movie has Furiosa escaping on her own, protecting her fellow sex slaves, having the plan, and then just working with Max as kindred spirits, Chicken Nuggets is like Max escaping on his own because he's a badass, Furiosa and the other sex slaves going after him on behalf of Morton Joe, them getting attacked by marauders, the other woman's death being blamed on Furiosa because she lied about Max being a universal donor, even though it was clear that Morton Joe ordered her to go, Max rescuing her, and her simply falling in line as his love interest while he goes to track down who killed the world, while the Citadel and the War Boys never show up again. That wouldn't be half as entertaining or feminist as Fury Road, it would be boring and regressive. That's what this book is. All of the protagonists meet up in the middle of the abandoned mall and have one big raptor fight. Not that it's particularly interesting. None of the fights are interesting. Jesse gets separated from the group and cornered by some raptors, but a hallucination of his daughter tells him that the important hint is the head. And then Jesse does some really confusing move, where he cuts a dead raptor's head off, shows it to a live raptor to intimidate it, and then grabs the live raptor's head by sticking his fingers into its eye sockets and pulls off its head like it's a bowling ball? What? After the big fight, he collapses and wakes up with all of the survivors together as a family. They explain that Corey has this plan to access a virus programmed to take out the raptors and save the world, so they decide to go do that, and the book just ends. This is not a good book. The characters are cliches, the action is boring, and seems to just be an excuse for gore. Sure, the Jurassic Park books have gore, but they also have decent horror that the gore can complement. It's not just an excuse for gore. The gender portrayals are regressive and just based on cliches of strong men rescuing poor angels. The failure to acknowledge the absurdity of the chicken raptor premise just makes it come across as a B-movie. Chicken nuggets are not scary. It's not a deep subject. Chicken nuggets. Just chicken nuggets. No, that doesn't work. To be fair, the book was later republished without the Chicken Nuggets main title, and now it just uses the subtitle, The Raptor Apocalypse. But there is still the inherent problem with the story taking chicken raptors too seriously. If the chicken element was referenced only as an entry point for raptors, and then exclusively used dinosaur references, it could work. But there are many, many references to them being chicken monsters. The number one problem with the book is the raptors themselves. The book's main selling point is exaggerating the raptor element from Jurassic Park, but the raptors don't feel like Jurassic Park raptors. I like Jurassic Park. I like the raptors. Jurassic Park raptors are highly intriguing creatures. They're animals that are intelligent to a degree no one could have predicted because there's only so much you can learn from fossilized skeletons. They start out cute and playful but become aggressive as they age, due primarily to the lack of positive role models to educate the young. They're just running on instincts. Tim has fun playing with a baby raptor, Lex befriends a juvenile raptor, and half the cast is allowed into a raptor nest without issue, as long as they don't scare any of the raptors. The other side of the spectrum is that adult raptors hunt like serial killers and are perfect predators of humanity for being the right size to enter buildings, and always having the perfect weapon ready to slice us open. It's largely a battle of wits with plenty of tension and horror, the gore only showing up at select points to complement the terror. Jurassic Park 3 even suggests that raptors are self-aware, capable of language, and are essentially a hostile society on the level of a cannibal tribe in the Amazon. There is a lot of potential to having a story centered on Jurassic Park raptors, but Chicken Nuggets just gives us chicken monsters. The chicken raptors are more or less Jurassic Park raptors in name only. It's established early on that they look like velociraptors. Not Utah raptors, not Deinonychuses, velociraptors. The name used incorrectly in Jurassic Park, and the movie Jurassic Park gets title dropped. However, they aren't really that similar. They're pale and have bloated chicken combs. The fact that they're pale means that they don't handle sun very well, meaning that unlike Jurassic Park raptors being fine any hour, the chicken raptors only come out at night and stick to the shadows in the daytime. That makes the dynamic a lot more like the vampires in I Am Legend. They also don't have any trait other than being aggressive and somewhat cunning. There's no interpersonal raptor relationships, there's no cute playfulness of the young, there's no communication or sign that they're intelligent past their hunting capacity. They're just chicken monsters that look like raptors, act like vampires, and are used in the same manner as zombies. This isn't the Raptor Apocalypse at all. It's the Raptor Vampire Zombie Chicken Apocalypse. And somehow not a comedy. This book stinks. Don't waste your time on it.